Gabimaru is a former shinobi of Iwagakure village. Because of a grave sin, the village chief has ordered him to be executed. However, due to inexplicable reasons, each execution has been a failure. The first one is beheading, where the executioner's sword is split in half after repeatedly hitting Gabimaru's neck. The next execution is by burning alive, but all that burned were his clothes. Because of this, an investigator named Sagiri is sent from Edo to check on this. She asks Gabimaru about his history and the reason for his execution. The former shinobi nonchalantly tells her that he grew up in Iwagakure. He doesn't remember who his parents were, but he does remember not feeling anything about their passing away. He trained to be a shinobi and became a formidable force. He made a living out of terminating people. He also says he was set for execution because he tried to run away from the village. And nobody leaves Iwagakure without the chief's permission. When asked why he wants to leave, Gabimaru refuses to elaborate. But he says that he wants to end it all. The investigator then asks if she can see his powers because it's rumoured that he can use ninjutsu, to which Gabimaru refuses to as well. So the next day, the executioner prepares another method to end Gabimaru's life. It's by two bulls pulling his feet apart. Sagiri notices how he curls up his feet, causing the bulls to get pulled together and resulting in another failed execution. Sagiri starts to get an idea about Gabimaru, especially when she has a conversation with one of the servants. He says that the prisoner is also known as Gabimaru the Hollow because of his expressionless face when committing horrendous acts. He also reports that when Gabimaru was caught, he ended the 20 people trying to apprehend him. Sagiri finds that quite interesting. Why would someone who wanted to end his life fight off 20 people trying to catch him? Sagiri points this out to Gabimaru later that night when they have another interview session. He denies it and proceeds to answer why he tried to leave the village. He says he was married to the daughter of the village chief, a sheltered, naive girl who was innocent about his work. He says he doesn't want to get stuck with that kind of woman and this kind of life. That's why he tried to leave. However, later that night, he reflects on the investigator's words. Why won't he pass away when he wants to end it? So he resolves to do it right. But the next day, the execution by boiling oil also fails. This prompts Sagiri to claim that the preparations are done and she's ready to proceed. It turns out her full name is Yamada Asimon Sagiri from the Yamada clan, a clan of samurais who are well known as sword testers and executioners for the shogun. Their specialty is beheading by a single swing. Gabimaru instantly recognizes that Sagiri is the real deal. His instincts to live kick in as he grabs a sword from one of the servants and fights Sagiri. Sagiri says she has seen the last moments of many prisoners and has learned how to read their true feelings. She strikes a nerve when she says Gabimaru is lying about wanting to end his life. Then we see the real reason behind his situation. Gabimaru has true feelings for his wife. He didn't realize this until he saw one night the horrified face of his wife as he showed off his earning through his work. Since then, he knew he had changed. His wife was gentle and kind and did her part in their marriage. She was originally beautiful, but her father ruined her face. Despite this, she remained pure, and this affected Gabimaru in a good way. He loved his wife and he will do anything to make her happy. He decided to ask the village chief, his wife's father, if they can leave the village to live normal lives. However, he was betrayed by the chief and was sentenced to an execution. Sagiri realizes Gabimaru still cares for his wife, so she offers him a proposition. He will be given a full pardon and the shogun's protection if he will join an expedition. The mission is to find the elixir of life that can only be found in a place called Shinsenkyo. According to legends, it's an island of paradise brimming with vitality and blessings. Some have considered it heaven. The shogun has sent many expeditions toward the island, but they all failed. If ever someone or something manages to return, they all return as body parts with wild flowers sprouting everywhere. The shogun realizes that those with expendable lives are better suited for the expedition. That's why he sent the Yamada clan to look for criminals that can be sent to the island. Gabimaru understands this as a chance for him to have a new life, especially since Sagiri confirmed his wife is still alive and waiting for him. With newfound strength and reason to remain alive, he accepts the invitation. The executioner and the guards protest against this turn of events, but Gabimaru shuts them up by using his ninjutsu, ascetic blaze. Sagiri is impressed. She notices that he's become a bit more animated than before. After all, he now has a goal. That is, to find the elixir of life, give it to the shogun to obtain the pardon, and then return to his wife. A few days later, all the criminals from different parts of the country are gathered on a secluded beach. They are granted a private audience with the shogun himself, along with his retainers. They are going to receive formal instructions about the pardon offered to them. Many of the criminals are infamous in their own right. Some are serial murderers, some do it just for fun, and some do it because they have to. As the retainers announce the specifics of the mission, Sagiri looks at the criminals. She does not doubt her skills when it comes to putting them down, but ever since becoming an assayman or a samurai executioner, she has been plagued with doubts regarding her feelings about her chosen work. She remembers the first time she witnessed an execution and the reason why she chose to be an assayman. Her father, Yamada Assayman Kichiji, was to execute a condemned storyteller. She was so amazed by her father's skill because the storyteller didn't even realize he was beheaded. Since then, Sagiri vowed to replicate her father's sword swing, but her path wasn't easy. First, her father Kichiji was actually the clan's leader. As the daughter, she was expected to marry the next head of the clan. In ancient Japan, they didn't see women as leaders, only the bearers of the next possible leader. This duty was what was expected of her. That's why everyone was against her choosing the path of being an assayman. Second, being a member of the Yamada clan was not a good reputation in the public's eye. Aside from being executioners, the clan also made their living by testing swords on corpses and making medicines out of them. Sagiri was bullied and called daughter of the neck chopper or daughter of the cannibal. Despite all these hardships, she persevered until she became an official assayman. In her first execution, she cleanly beheaded the criminal. This showed her skill in swordsmanship. However, she discovered that the job is plagued with the souls she took. She realized she feared taking away the life of criminals, because deep inside, she's compassionate, even for those condemned by society. From the outside, her face looked calm as she swung her sword down to separate the head from the body. But deep inside, her fears crawled over her body, making her cold and unsure. Aizen, her senior and trainer, noticed this. He told her that the path of assayman was not for someone like her. If it came down to the real meaning of this job, would she be able to take away someone's life? That question was something that Sagiri still hasn't found an answer to. Back to the present, Sagiri's thoughts get interrupted when a criminal asks the retainers to stop talking about the Shinsenkyo. It's a legend after all, so why would they believe the mission in the first place? The retainer understands this sentiment. So, to prove his point, he shows the criminals the lone survivor of the recent Shinsenkyo expedition, if you call it surviving. The man is clearly not alive, even though he smiles and twitches. Wild flowers are blooming from almost every orifice of his body. The retainer emphasizes that this expedition won't be easy, and that the criminals are looking at their possible ending. One of the condemned stands up and says this is all a joke. But before he can even make a step, Aizen cleanly cuts his head. The criminals are surprised. The retainer explains that whether they accept the mission or not, they are all still convicted and must face execution. It's just a matter of where they will be executed. He adds that an assayman will be assigned to them once they are on the mythical island. They will be beheaded if they show any suspicious behaviors. If their assayman passes away first, they will still be executed if they return to the mainland. The only clear way for them to survive this ordeal is to find the elixir of life, bring it to the shogun, and receive the pardon. To add pressure to this deadly mission, the shogun announces that only a few criminals will be allowed to join the expedition. One of the criminals, a yellow-haired, competitive fellow, is already strangling another criminal. None of the assaymans nor the retainers react to this, so clearly they have to eliminate other criminals just to get included in the expedition. In no time, the place becomes a scene from Battle Royal. Blood splatters the ground everywhere as criminals get rid of their competitors. Meanwhile, the shogun enjoys this bloody scenery. This makes it questionable if he is deserving to have the elixir, if it exists in the first place. Gabimaru approaches the retainers and asks them to stop this pointless bloody competition. Taking someone's life when there's no good reason is not okay. Is there another way to determine who's going to join the expedition without ripping each other's throats? In response, the retainer asks one criminal to get rid of Gabimaru. Well then, he says. Then he proceeds to rip off that criminal's throat. He goes on to eliminate all the remaining criminals. Sagiri looks at Gabimaru through her sword. She sees that he's also burdened with the souls of the people he terminated. Yet he's known to be the Hollow, an expressionless slaughterer. Then she realizes something. Perhaps she should not suppress her fear of executing people. Rather, she must resolve to carry the burden of the souls she takes. She gets emotional after finally realizing there's a way for her to do her job without sacrificing her core values. In the end, 10 criminals are allowed in the expedition. They are Aza Chobei, Tamiya Gantetsusai, Twisted Keiyun, Nurugai, Horubo, Gabimaru, Akaginu, Yuzuriha, Moro Makia, and Rokurota. After a few days of preparation, the expedition to Shinsenkyo finally commences. The main ship brings them to a distance close enough to be travelled by small boats. Then the 10 pairs, consisting of 1 Asemon and 1 convict, travel to the shore. At first glance, the island of Shinsenkyo is a dreamy paradise, despite some foggy areas. Trees stand tall and bloom. On the ground surrounding their trunks are different shrubs with vibrant flowers scattered around. The diversity of the flora is evident, even growing as close to the beach as possible. Sagiri is in awe, mainly because she doesn't exactly expect the mythical island to be true. On the other hand, Gabimaru is wary of the surroundings, despite the overall beauty. Indeed, the island is a paradise, but there's something unreal about it. Despite the variety of plants, it looks unnatural that they can grow in one place. Adding to this creepy place is their ridiculous expedition. They are only given 3 days' worth of food. It's as if the shogun doesn't expect them to last long. Then they're given a sketch of a tangerine that's supposed to be the elixir of life. Gabimaru is smart enough to conclude that the shogun and his retainers have no idea about what they are doing. Basically, this expedition and all the others are spurred by a whimsical idiot of a shogun who has heard about a drink that brings immortality. However, Gabimaru believes that there may be something that can extend life. That's because he witnessed the chief of Iwagakure get mutilated in the past, and still lived as if nothing happened. The chief said he had drunk a medicine to make himself immortal, and he acquired the drink from a faraway place. Gabimaru is just not sure if that medicine came from this island. He breaks the rope that binds his hands. However, Sagiri insists on keeping his hands bound. Gabimaru points out that it's foolish to do so, but eventually he relents. Just as he's about to tie his hands, he gets attacked by Twisted Keiyun. His Asemon, Kisho, simply looks at them. Kisho chides Sagiri about her rigid views of the rules. That's the reason why she's still the lowest ranked among the Asemons. Keiyun interrupts them and says he wants to crush Gabimaru the Hollow. So Sagiri lets her convict fight, but with his hands tied. Keiyun doesn't wait. He brings out his assortment of weapons and tests them on Gabimaru one by one. Twisted Keiyun was once a warrior monk who fell in love with weapons. That's how he got the sentence for execution. Now that he's here on the island, he can use all his weapons to his heart's content. He thinks it's better to eliminate all his rivals before looking for the elixir, but he's underestimating Gabimaru. In no time, he's the one resting on top of his weapons, all bloody and lifeless. Kisho can't be bothered by his convict's fate. The instruction to them is, if their convict dies, they can come back on their own and bring the convict's head. Sagiri tells him to be careful on his way back. But Kisho reminds her that she has no time to worry about others when she should worry about herself. Indeed, as they are talking, the other participants of the expedition have already let loose their rage. Chobei gets choked by Harubo the murder Buddha, but Chobei easily overpowers him. Akaginu the cannibal courtesan tries to seduce Yamada Asemon Shion, but this ends up with her headless and bathing in her own blood. Tamiya Gantetsusai, the blade dragon, chooses to do his mission alone and doesn't care about Yamada Asemon Fuchi. Meanwhile, Yuzuriha the kunoichi decides to work with Moro Makia the apostate. Not a few minutes later, they both lie on the ground with Makia's forehead pierced with a kunai. Rokurota, the giant of Bizen, takes Aizen's head and munches it for his lunch. Kisho points out that on this island there are no rules, only priorities. And to deal with criminals, Sagiri must understand that they don't follow the norms of society. They only follow their personal intentions. In addition, the shogunate is already planning a follow-up expedition, mainly made up of the new shinobis from Iwagakure. And this is not only about the criminals, it's also about the Asemons. There's a rumour that this expedition will determine the next head of the clan. So, if Sagiri wants to have the position, then she better prove herself. After expressing those insights, Kisho leaves the two. Gabimaru takes this opportunity to strike at Sagiri. He agrees that the criminals have priorities on this island, and they don't care about others. For him, his priority is to get the elixir so he can see his wife again. Sagiri will only be a hindrance for him. However, it seems like he can't do the final blow despite having many chances. Sagiri is also skilled in fighting, but she feels like it's wrong to take his life just because he's a criminal. As they fight, they both realize they have to correct their priorities. For Gabimaru, he's reminded of his wife and the wise words she told him. True courage is being true to his emotions. Giving in to his feelings is not a weakness, but a strength that he can use as an inspiration to leave his shinobi life. He realizes he's not exactly hollow. It's just that he's brainwashed to think emotions are useless when terminating people. He's also a human being, capable of having feelings, and that's okay. As for Sagiri, she feels grateful for seeing Gabimaru's true feelings, therefore allowing her to acknowledge her own. This time, her priority is to accompany Gabimaru in retrieving the elixir and coming back to his wife. She wants to see how a former criminal can turn his life around. Now that the two of them have returned to their senses, they see the other creatures on the island. Bugs with human faces, centipedes with hands as mouths, and giants with mismatched upper and lower body parts. Is this island a true paradise? Or is it hiding horrors that are yet to be discovered? Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.